Nearly 50% of Gen Z and millennials would like to incorporate crypto investing into their 401k accounts. That's according to a new Charles Schwab study. But how exactly are those riskier assets impacting early retirement strategies? Here to discuss, we have Wayne Park. He's the CEO of John Hancock Retirement. And Wayne, look, retirement approaches different for everyone at every age. But how are your clients viewing some of those risk-on versus risk-off strategies?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think, as you said, retirement investors in their 401ks are different than your professional investors. So I don't think they think of it in terms of risk on or off. But what we have seen from our research is that their willingness to take on more risk, regardless of generation, boomers, Gen X, and of course millennials and Gen Zs, but it's more because they feel like they're falling behind in their saving for retirement. So that's really the genesis and driver for willingness to take on more risk.
And what does that look like? What does more risk? How would you describe that?
More risk is willingness to take on probably past their traditional age allocation of having more equities in their portfolios. I know you talked about the crypto and whatnot. There's a barrier actually in your 401ks to do that first, probably than other investment accounts, which is you have to have your employer make them available for you. So while there's intent and desire to invest and take on more risk because they do want to get more return because they do feel like they're falling behind, one of the challenges in a retirement construct is to make sure that your employer makes them available to you.
And let's talk about the less risky moves, especially because that seems to be the older you get, that's sort of the once, right, for investors. So what do those look like?
Lesky, I mean, honestly, it does go back to the foundation. Target date funds in the retirement construct, 401ks have proven to be very successful. So making sure that you're keeping track and being engaged in your investment product, especially in that time period, 5 to 10 years before you think you're going to retire. Because the other surprising thing that we learned from our research is that those that have retired learned 60%, more than 60%, retired earlier than they thought they would. So making sure that in that 5 to 10 year kind of red zone period that they're really paying attention to what they may need in retirement would be a really good idea.
And you've been doing this for a long time. How have you seen things change over the years? And especially as we enter this period of TBD, right, with the election, what the Fed is going to do. Should you reallocate your holdings in anticipation for that, or is it better to just stay the course?
I'm a big believer in staying true to staying the course and making sure that it makes sense for you personally. Plenty of research shows that in every election, regardless of which party win or which candidate may win, the long-term effects are not that different. So it's important to go back to the foundations, make sure you understand your personal situation. So stay the course for sure, but what we have seen actually is things like inflation do matter. It is impacting the generations differently. And for your personal situation, talking to a financial advisor or any investment professional like John Hancock Retirement or anybody that may be available to your employer is really a good idea so that you're not doing it on your own, and also having an objective party look at your situation is always helpful.
And to that point, John Hancock is out with a new report on retirement preparedness and found that most respondents feel behind.
Yes.
Why is that the case, and what can you do now to prevent that?
I think for the younger generation, certainly millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X, they feel really behind for a couple of reasons. One is inflation. It's taking an impact, and we see it in terms of flows and people taking money out of the retirement plans. Number two, especially for Gen X, is the number of different priorities that you have to deal with. Saving for your own retirement, saving for your children's college, you may have a mortgage, and you may even have your own student debt left over. So I think the strain of trying to meet all these different objectives is playing a role in feeling behind for retirement, because I think most people feel like retirement is further away. Boomers, though, we've learned that they are most confident and probably on the better off situation because most of them have seen what that looks like and have access to financial professionals that can access for help.
Life expectancies have also increased, right? So what's the new target retirement age? And you mentioned that there's opportunity to retire early. So is there steps you could take to really ensure that you can maybe meet that mark and retire earlier than expected?
Yeah, I mean, this is really great news that people are living longer, right? So the average life expectancy is about 80 now. So really great news, but what comes with that good news is the ability to fund that retirement for a longer period of time. So I think that reality is striking for people to say, hey, I think I'm going to live longer. Hopefully it's longer, healthier. But at the same time, if I'm saving for 80 years, right, and 20, and saving for decades of retirement versus a few years, it has a very different formula. So I think that's when the willingness to take on more risk comes about. And we can help, right? I mean, the number one thing for people to think about when they are thinking about living longer is not doing it alone, access to a financial advisor, companies like John Hancock, but it's a combination of thinking about living longer and the current worry about inflation and economic conditions that I think are really coming through our study.
An important topic. Wayne Park, John Hancock Retirement CEO, thank you so much for joining us today and in studio. Appreciate it.
Thank you.